All right, real estate rock stars. This is Aaron Amuchasegi. I'm here with my co-host of the day, Sarah Denig. Sarah and I just got to interview Tom Brennan. He's an agent from Compass. He lives out in Charlotte, but he's licensed in both North Carolina and South Carolina. We just learned a ton of stuff from him. Sarah, what did you think of that interview?
I mean, I love an Irishman. So outgoing, so humble, absolutely crushing it. $18 million in his second year in real estate, which is insane. And he has the work ethic. He's putting the open houses in, he's putting in the reps, and I think he's going to be successful. And I think the blueprint that he provided us today is something all agents, new or old, can use to remember how to get that business and how to get back to the grind.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I couldn't have said it better. What we do in this interview, everybody, is we dissect it like we always do. He gives you a blueprint with some very simple goals. And it's like in January, if you do this many times in January and you do this many times in January, it's going to lead to 25 deals for him next year. But get this, he's only been an agent for like 18 months and he is doing a couple deals a month with this very simple, easy to follow deal. So without further ado, here's our interview with Tom Brennan. All right, Tom, let's get going. Sarah and I are super excited to have you on here today. Where do you live?
I live in Charlotte, greater Charlotte area, pretty much just on the state line of South Carolina. So it's Charlotte, about 30 minutes basically from downtown, which is called Uptown in Charlotte, but that's a whole other podcast.
Okay. How did you get into real estate?
Basically, I was a W-2 person, like I guess most realtors were at some point in their life. And I had a decision to make just under 2 years ago, about 20 months ago, whether I was going to keep going with W-2 world and in corporate America or do something completely different. Buddy of mine actually 6 months previous to that had said, "Hey, Tom, you'd be great at real estate. Like give it a shot." And I said, "Get out of here. I'm not interested." He said, "Well, I guess you don't want to make any money then." And he just planted something in my mind that I just kept at me and kept niggling. And I just got my real estate license in June 2022 and kind of went full time, I guess, in February 2023. So I'm not even 2 years in the business yet. But I got to say, stressful sometimes, yes, but I like it. I like the hustle of it. I like the grind of it.
Yeah. So you planted the seed 2 years ago.
You've
been licensed less than 2 years.
Correct.
You must be doing pretty good to be on here. What was your W-2 job you had before?
I worked for a company called Waterford Crystal. It used to make fine crystals, Wedgwood, which is a British company. And I used to be their spokesperson, their PR person in the US, did all the media events, Times Square ball drops, was on lots of TV shows, speaking engagements, ton of travel, which I got really tired of after a time. But I had a blessed life. They sent me across the world, so many different capitals and, some celebrities along the way. So I loved that role, but I was just getting to a point in life where a change was necessary. Real estate became the change.
I might have my accents wrong, but I don't think. Yeah, but I don't think it's a North South Carolina accent that you've got going on there.
Alabama. I'm kidding. It's yes, I am full leprechaun. I am a full-blown leprechaun. So yes, top of the morning to you for sure. And Irish people say that in jest. It's like a stereotype, but we do say it. But yes, I'm full-blown Irish. Born and raised, got married there, fell in love, raised my kids, and my family and I moved over to the US 11 years ago, 6 years in Jersey, 4.5 years in Charlotte. This is my home. I love it.
Why Charlotte?
Do you know what? At the time when I was working for my previous company for Waterford, I needed to be on the East Coast and I just wanted to go to a city that I was reading up on. I'd been here many times on business and it just spoke to me. Love what I was seeing, love what I heard. I traveled at the time, so I needed an international airport, a couple of other reasons. But Charlotte just was the one. We looked at other cities, but Charlotte just won and I'm just happy here. Booming city in a booming state right now for real estate.
Wow. So less than 2 years in the business.
Yep.
What are your big takeaways? How are you getting business? Tell us all about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, less than 2 years in business. You can ask me in a moment about stats and facts and where I'm at and whatnot. But to Aaron's point, why am I here? But I get a lot of business from open houses, from networking events, and just persistent follow through. I'm always listening for change, irrespective of who I'm talking about. I'll give you a prime example. I was at a networking event last night, having a pint of Guinness, not a stereotype, but I was having a pint of Guinness, genuinely. And I was talking to a guy, just had a chit chat, and I could tell he was itching to talk about real estate, but I didn't bring it up. I let him bring it up. And now I'm meeting him on January 2nd because he wants to buy a home, for whatever price point he's looking at. So I constantly listen for change, and I always allow the other person to have time of possession. People love talking about themselves, including me, by the way, everybody. So let them talk, because when they're talking, you're listening for something that you can kind of. I like to say, hey, I'm curious. Tell me a little bit more about that. And then they go on another rabbit hole. So I'm gathering information in my head, and then I'll see is it appropriate then to bring up what I do and kind of go after the sale, I guess, because that's what we do.
Yeah. I love that. I feel like the most meaningful conversations in real estate start organically and nothing about real estate. And it's really
100%.
just getting to know the person, knowing this is a relationship business. That's what's really going to get the deal done, time and time again. So it's super cool. But I am curious, like at your open houses, what kind of scripts are you using to, captivate these people's
Mm.
contacts to have that follow up? Because I feel like that's always a weird, awkward thing for newbies, like learning to ask for the information.
Yeah, I don't know when I'm going to stop being a newbie. Is there a point on that, or is there a sales volume? I'm not quite sure. We could talk about that in just a moment. But for the most part, for me, I mean, you got to think about what's happening in an open house. I'm a complete stranger. Person walking in is a complete stranger, and I'm often hosting a open house for somebody else. So I don't even know who owns the home. I have no idea. So I just my buddy says, "Hey, can you do an open house on Saturday?" And I do it, and I don't know who the seller is. So that's the first part. So I get that it's an unusual situation for a person to walk towards me. And I always let somebody be for a few moments. I let them kind of take in the room, look around. Hey, my name is Tom, or just quick introduction. They'll walk towards me. Come on in, guys. I mean, my name is Tom. What's your name? Hey, Susan. Hey, Bob. Hey, how you doing? You get a little high five with the kids. And then I'll ask them a question like, tell me what you know about this open house and how did you find it. Again, give back time of possession, where they come from, are they from out of town, etc. Just listening for change all the time. And then what I like to say is, and I use that line, hey, listen, we're strangers in a home, we're in a stranger's home, this is a kind of a strange situation, let's talk when you're done your tour. And then I always say this is my script, I don't care who uses this. I'll say, listen, there's nothing worse than somebody coming into, I'm having this conversation with the potential client, there's nothing worse than somebody walking into a home, trying to take it in, talk amongst yourselves, let's just presume a husband and wife, and you've got the realtor in your ear talking about, well, there's so much square foot and we have a basement down here. What I say is, listen, you guys, walk around. I'm going to give you the top level statistics, and then I say I'm going to give you like a cheat sheet. There will be a test at the end of this, so make sure you listen. Some little stupid joke or whatever, and then I just let them fly and just walk around, take your time. And then when they come back to me, I'll say, hey, what did you think? And then I'll continue the conversation. And it's all about rapport and likability, because I've never sold, I don't even know how many open houses, but I've never sold the open house that I'm in on the day. I've never done that ever. I've never wrote up a contract for the actual house. Some realtors do, it just hasn't happened to me. But my goal is to make sure I capture their contact information. They have my business card. And for that husband and wife to get in a car and go, I think I could work with that guy. So that's my ultimate goal from an open house, and to get one meeting per open house. If I do two of a weekend, I get two meetings, because statistically, an open house is only like a 10 to 15% kind of a success rate. So I have those numbers in my head, and I'm pretty good at it. I'm not, tooting my own horn here, but I'm pretty good at it, because I build a rapport quickly. I read the room quickly. I like to identify the personality of the person I'm dealing with. Are they a power person? Are they a statistics guy? Do they like having a beer at the bar? I try to get that information, and then I try and tailor my meeting towards where the next step is going to go.
So let's reverse engineer that for a second. Because I think it was really important at the beginning. You highlighted so you're doing an open house for somebody and it's not your listing.
Yeah.
Right. So someone else has a listing and they've either asked you to hold it open, or you can even go to another agent and say, hey, you have this listing. Can I hold it open for you?
Yeah.
You have the open house. Now, how do you actually market the open house? Is it signs? Is it balloons? Do you tell neighbors? Does it go on MLS? Like, how do you try to get people there? So I guess that's the first part we missed.
Yeah, signs are an interesting one. I always ask somebody, how did you find the open house? And I would say 1% say signs. It's all MLS driven, or Zillow, Redfin, usual suspects. So I always put down the signs. First of all, but the signs are not for directional signs. I have signs with my name on it. I want people in the neighborhood to call me, not necessarily get directions to where the home is. You don't really need signs for that, not in 2024, but I do put them down. What I also do is
So
I
wait,
will
so
put,
you put
yeah,
signs in the neighborhood. Do they say open house Tom Brennan or do they just
yes.
say open house? Okay, so they
No,
say
they say,
open
oh,
house Tom Brennan, but it won't show, but it won't be right next to the house. They'll have to call you and ask you where to go.
no. What I'll do if you said to me, Aaron, hey Tom, I've got an open house tomorrow in such a neighborhood, and I don't know the neighborhood, I go on Google Maps. I'll look at the neighborhood. I'll see where the entry and exit points are. Is there one, two, five, six, whatever, and I'll make sure that I have about 7 directional signs in my garage right underneath me, and then I'll figure out really quickly where the kind of access points are. But it says on the open house sign, Tom Brennan 980-328-6620 Compass, and then it has a sign on, a time, like a little writer on top, so 2 to 4. And I've actually gotten business from people calling me from the signs. Hey Tom, I'm not interested in that house, but hey, could you give me a call because I'm thinking of listing mine, which is 2 miles away. So the directional signs are not to really bring people to the open house. You do get a few drive-bys, but it's for advertisement whilst I'm in the neighborhood, and that's where I get more business from the signs as opposed to finding
Got it. Okay, so you get an open house somehow. It's not your listing, so anybody can do this. Any agent can do this. Brand new agent,
thousand
wherever
percent.
you are, go get an open house to host for somebody. And then you do put signs out, but you do it a little bit different. The signs are with your name, your
Mhm.
phone number. You put it out because it's kind of an excuse to put your name in the
Yeah,
neighborhood,
it's
but
free
you want your
advertising.
name and phone number on it so people look at you. But very few people actually show up at the open house. So essentially, you're saying don't do an open house if you're not going to put it in Redfin, if you're not going to put it in Zillow, if you're not going to put it in MLS. Don't even do the open house because
I
people
would.
aren't going to show up without putting the stuff online.
Well, I wouldn't even say don't do it. It's just not what I do. I mean, first of all, it's in the MLS, and it's like Saturday 2 to 4. So most people, I see. I ask. That's one of my questions. How do you know about this open house? And I would say 99% of people say I saw it online.
Cool.
You'll get the odd drive by. Hey, I was going to the store, I saw the sign, I said I'd pop down, but they're most likely not interested. They're just nosy neighbors. And nosy neighbors are great because they give you intel on the neighborhood. They're the best
Uh,
kind.
awesome. So on our checklist for that new agent to copy your process, they get the listing, they put out signs, they put it on MLS, which will then put it everywhere. Now they show up at the open house. You do a quick greeting that says, "Hey, it's me," and say so. And then, in case you're wondering, say, "Hey, nothing worse than me following you around. I'm not planning." And you talk to them for a while. You just kind of ask them questions. Your first thing you say
Two
is,
or 3 minutes.
"How did you find out about us?"
Yep.
Cool. What are you doing today? I'm glad you made it. What made you show up today? All this small talk, nothing about the house. And you go, okay, well, I'm not going to follow you around because that's worse than anything. It's a 4 bedroom, 2 bath. There's a great, master bathroom upstairs. That's my favorite part of the house. It's 3,000 square feet, but go look around and I'm not going to bug you. And they're going to go walk around, do their thing. You're going to wait in the kitchen. On their way out, you're going to say, what did you think? And your big thing is you're not doing a lot of talking. You're doing like these short questions and trying to get
That's
them to
all.
talk.
Well, and not only that, but I'll also give them like a one pager like this, and they'll have like the top level, like the property taxes, the square foot, the bedroom count, the acreage, whatever. Because what I'm not going to do is just copy and paste what's on the MLS, which is a big load of copy that nobody reads. I don't want anybody looking at my flyers trying to use up calories in their brain trying to figure out what's going on here. Simple, like maybe 6 points on this. That's pretty much it. What are people interested in? How big is it? How many bedrooms? 2-car garage? What's the property tax? How old is the roof? And when was the HVAC replaced? That's
Is
all you
your
want to know
name and
about.
phone number on that sheet?
100% it is at the
So
back
your
end.
name and phone number's on that. Plus you give them a business card and you're hoping when they walk to their car, they're going to think, man, Tom might be, if we want to hire an agent, Tom might be the guy. Seemed really friendly and funny and really, really easy. He wasn't a hard sales guy, really easy to work with. And you're hoping to get 1 out of 10 people to actually reach back out to you. And
Yeah,
so
the average attendance on an open house where I live in sort of South Charlotte area would be kind of 6 to 10 groups, whether that's one person or husband and wife, or 6 to 10 groups ish. Now, listen, I've had the goose eggs where nobody turns up. That happens, right? It's inevitable. Sometimes it's going to happen. But what I try and do, because I'm not going to rely on that person, I'm not going to say, hey, give me a call when you're ready. I'll make sure that I capture their details. And I like to get it written down, name, number, email and address. So that's all I need for. And then are you, sometimes I might ask you, you're from out of state because I live in the South Charlotte kind of area, which is kind of borders in South Carolina. But what I'll do is I said, can I ask you guys to sign in? And then everybody, they're often hesitant about, wait, I'm giving you information. I met you like 10 seconds ago or 2 minutes ago, whatever it is. And I said, listen, First of all, this is for the seller because we like to just keep a track on everybody's coming in numbers because my job is to give feedback to the seller so they can make improvements if they need to or something along those lines. And then I'll say also, I am not going to spam you. I'm not going to sell you. This is just for me and for the seller's benefit. So that puts immediate at ease and they go, oh, sure, no problem. And I've never had resistance to that. That's why I don't like people signing in on an iPad or QR codes because they don't, where's my data going? Where's this going? What cookies are going to jump in when I start looking at a website in 2 days from now? And then I just tell them when I have your information, I said, hey, what I'm going to do here, even if you've got a realtor, I don't say that, but I'll do it anyway. I said, what I'm going to do within 24 hours, I'm just going to shoot you a note back saying, thank you for attending today. Hey, no problem. Boom, introduction. So now I have their details, which I need for my contact. And of course, I need for my CRM and potential client business.
Tom, how are you picking your areas? Are you going by like a price point or an area that you're very familiar with? Do you find that you're like constantly trying to pick up the same neighborhoods so you know the data? Like, what's your thought process around that?
That's a great question, and it's. I mean, you can't be all things to all people because I can't. Like, what I'm not going to do is take something that's an hour away, and I'm going to tell you why. That's really important. And maybe to start when you're. I was going to say when you're a new agent. I guess I'm a newish agent, but if something is, if I'm doing an open house on a Saturday, like to get the signs down early in the morning or maybe the night before and catch Friday traffic as an example. Now, if you're an hour away, I've got to travel an hour to put the signs down, to travel back an hour to go back and do the open house. That's not a good use of my time. So I tried to pick something within about 30, maybe 40 minutes maximum distance from my house. And that's what I do. South Charlotte is one of the areas where I live. So I know the neighborhood. My kids go to school here. And there's certain parts of Charlotte City, like Plaza Midwood, Chantilly, Elizabeth, Dilworth, which means nothing to a lot of people out there, but they're kind of where I focus on to get business. And then what I do, I'll find an area that I'm interested in, and then I'll find out the agents do a lot of business there within my company Encompass, and then I'll just talk to them and say, hey, I see you've got 4 listings. What's happening with your open houses next week or whatever?
Yeah, it's great.
So we do it.
So are you primarily working with buyers, or what's your ratio of buyers to sellers?
It's probably a 65-35. I think every agent, when they start out in the first year or two, you tend to go with buyers. And that's fine. I mean, that's fine. But the listings are happening. And I think, working on my listing script and how to win business. And open house is a great way to win listings because first of all you're advertising in the neighborhood, but the second thing is that often you have someone who's looking to buy and there's a good opportunity, they have something to sell before they can do that. So I try and get into that conversation when it's appropriate.
Such a good point that open houses can lead to listing deals too, or it's somebody that's thinking about selling their house in the neighborhood. They want to see what their competition is, and so that's a big part of listening and no pressure. Because if you're high pressure, then people don't want to tell you, actually, I'm trying to sell the house across the street and I was just trying to check this out. But if you're low pressure, they'll be honest. Well, honestly, I'm getting ready to sell a house. I want to see how much it's worth or if this one is nicer than mine. Let's go back to when you first, or go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah. Just random.
No,
sorry,
please,
just random thought. My very first open house that I did was on my street, and we talked about this on a podcast that I was with Aaron, and I got a listing out of it. And then right now I have that same house active. So it's just such a roundabout full circle moment that was my first open house and now I'm selling it,
Yeah, it
you
totally
just never know. You just never know.
I think you're right. But I think if you think about, I can go back to the absurdity of having a conversation in a stranger's home with a complete stranger. It's like ludicrous, but I highlight that. Totally, but I highlight that. I said, look how dumb this is, and they kind of laugh about it. But people love buying but hate being sold to, right? They just hate being sold to, but everybody else buying stuff. So one of the things when I'm trying to gain an appointment, I say, listen, and I use that line on my follow-on line after this, and please everybody use this. I was talking to a top coach recently, said he actually stole my line, but so it must be decent. But I say, listen, here's 4 options, right? Let's take this offline. I'm going to give you 4 options that we can choose from. How about we either choose coffee, bourbon, beer, or wine? You pick one, and then we meet up, have an informal conversation. If you like me and we're going to work together, great. If not, coffee's on me or bourbon's on me, something along those lines. And it's a very loose, casual, organic, not pushy. Yes, I'm trying to actively pursue the business, but I'm not going to pursue the person if they're just a shutdown and they don't want to do it. They said, listen, Tom, I'm not really in the market right now. I don't want to have that conversation. I said, hey, no problem. I'll shoot you an email and let's keep in touch casually. They go, great. But I've gotten some kind of connection. Sometimes it's happens very quickly. Other times it could take 6 months to a year. Depends.
Could choose one: coffee, bourbon, beer,
Coffee,
or
bourbon, beer,
wine.
or wine. Your pick. That's what I say.
Let's go back to 18 months ago. You
Mm,
get your license. You join.
yeah.
So you joined Compass. Was that your first spot you joined?
No, it was not. I worked for a local firm. I kind of jumped around a little bit at the start, and then I kind of settled on a firm here in Charlotte. Family owned, reputable firm. There's great business, great people, but I just saw an opportunity that was better for me and my business. And one of the top agents here, I think the top agent in the Carolinas, Gina Lorenzo, and her team. I think the team this year is going to do about 230 million, I think, in volume out of 13 agents. So when somebody, yeah, I think it's 13. When a top dog like that, and Gina's a great mentor, great colleague, great person, incredible realtor, 18 years experience. When somebody like that asks you to join their team, I don't care how happy you are, you take that shot because I'm plugged into that. She blazed that trail. So if she does this massive volume, then I can do it because it's already been done. And that's how I look at it. So
They can show you the process. How did you get your very first deal?
from my wife, Stephanie, one of her colleagues was a first time buyer. It was price point was 328,000. And that was the first deal. I was like, said, hey, my husband does real estate, and he was my Caleb. He was my very first guy that I
How long
got
had you
under
been an
contract.
agent at that time?
A month. It
So you were an agent for a month. Your wife meets somebody and
was a work colleague, so she knew him.
work
So the
colleague.
trust was already there.
He said he's going to buy a house, and she said, "Oh, you should have my husband
Yeah,
Tom do it," and they did.
they did. They did.
How many
And
deals did you do your first year?
I did six. It's in 2020. So I started real estate in
2023, mid 2023.
February 2nd, 2023. I did 6 deals in 2023.
Okay.
So 2024 was effectively, I'm just about to finish my first full year in real estate, like basically in 2 weeks.
How did you get those other 5? So your first one was from a colleague. How'd you get your next 5?
It was open houses. Open house and one from, actually tell a lie. No, it was 2 from networking groups and the rest were from an open houses. I do a lot of networking.
Let's talk about that. So what was the networking group? So first one, you get one from a colleague. That's a sphere of influence. That's just telling people you're an agent.
Right.
And to people that trust you, and then people that trust you refer you. And that's a really lucky first one. That's awesome. You got some from open houses and others. So networking groups. So tell us about that. And we're really trying to, just like you say, you're going to work for this gal at Compass because she's already paved the way. You've paved the way, and we're trying to come up with that blueprint for a new agent that's listening
Sure.
today. Like, how can they build their business that first year? So one of their options is sphere of influence. One of their options is open houses. Let's talk about this networking group.
Yeah, networking is just vital because everybody has one of these, right, or phone right there, but nobody knows you're an agent unless you tell them. And the best way to do it is to get in front of the most people as possible in an open, informal setting. Like, I give you an example. I had a super busy day yesterday. I'll go back to your question in a second, Aaron. But I finished a busy day yesterday at 7 o'clock, went straight into a networking event, which was 30 minutes. It was a 3-hour networking event, picked up a client. We're going to do business possibly in April. So they're really, really, really important. Can't join too many because you're going to spread yourself too thin. So I choose carefully. First of all, sometimes you got to apply for these, but I choose carefully where I can add value and I can give something back, and I think I can be part of the tribe. 2 networking groups that I'm involved in here. It's called the Charlotte Irish Connection here in Charlotte. I'm a board member. And the other one is called the IABA, the Irish Business Association of North Carolina, Business Alliance of North Carolina, which is linked to the Irish government. So I can play the Irish card for that and get business kind of locally, if that makes sense.
I
And then
probably
there's another
couldn't play the same card. I probably couldn't join the same group and make it the way. But I think one of the important parts you've described so far is it's just anything, right? So right now it's kind of any networking group. So
you got to get out there. Just try it for a couple of months. And if you're not getting the business from it, but you got to attend, you got to put yourself out there. If it's on, there's another one. This is an example of why you should do it. Is on my first year, there's a local, it's called Internations, which is national. And it's basically anybody who's not from Charlotte, not from Europe, but just not from Charlotte. If you live in the next state down, South Carolina, you come to this. Happens every single month for 3 hours, every third Friday, whatever it is. And I go to that religiously, almost religiously. But sometimes I don't want to go because I had a long day. I've got to drive 30 minutes. I got to put on a clean shirt, shower and shave again. I go, oh, this is just a hassle. But I'm picking up business from just being persistently going to the networking groups. Pick 2 or 3. Don't do any more because it's going to get too much. It's going to get overwhelming. And just consistently go, and it's going to take time. So Networking is a huge part of my business, will be for 2025. And I urge any new agent out there, or maybe you're an existing agent, you're a couple of years in the business, you've gone a little bit stale, your volume is flat. Networking is really, really important.
Yeah. So I think I see why you're so successful. You're very personable. You seem to be like a
Mhm.
high I on the disc scale. I don't know if you've taken that test before, but
I have been
um,
told that, but I haven't taken it yet.
yeah, yeah. So I think it's cool that you're just like immersing yourself in the community and being organically yourself, and you're going to crush it like that. And I can totally see why you're doing that because
Mhm.
so many people just don't get started. They get in their way, their paralysis analysis, but
So
you're
true.
just doing it. You're just getting out there, and that's what it takes. And I think that is the good advice to new agents is, get uncomfortable. That's the only way we're going to grow all
Persistence,
day long.
persistence. Just don't stop. Don't give up. If there's anything you're not good at in life, just say if I wanted to open a McDonald's franchise, there's 15 books on Audible right now tell me how to do it. If you want to lose weight, if you want to be a bodybuilder, if you want to be the most successful real estate agent ever, somebody has written books out there to tell you how to do that. The knowledge is out there. We just as human beings are quite lazy. We always take the path of least resistance. We don't go after it. So, and then you complain year after year, well, I only did this much, or this is, but you've made no changes. And you got to make those changes. You got to be persistent, read as much as you can, surround yourself with good people. If you can't travel, then do that. And I think they're the three keys to success. I mean, I'm just loaded on books on my phone right there, just all lined up, kind of ready to go one after the other. Some are better than others. I get it. Some I'll stop halfway through and said, this is just boring me to death. I can't take it. But surrounding yourself with good people is probably the most important thing you can do in life, real estate or not, for sure.
When it goes to those networking events, I think one of the important things that I think you pointed out was these aren't real estate networking events.
No, they're not.
Like you are just going to a
Nope.
networking event to meet people. And I think you described at the very beginning, then the formula. So a new real estate agent signs up for whatever sort of networking event out there
Yeah.
that they think that they will have some sort of something to add or relate to something. It could be a
Mm.
triathlete group. It could be a whatever group. It
Anything.
could, I mean,
Doesn't matter.
pretty ideal if, yeah, it could be,
Doesn't matter.
yeah, pickleball. It could be like any sort of networking thing. You show up and your mission is just have conversation, which usually says, what do you do? And you're trying to ask, you're trying to ask the questions. You're trying to let them talk about themselves,
Right.
talk about everything. Eventually they ask what you do. And that's when you say, well, actually, I'm a real estate agent. I help people like you go. If they say they're looking to buy a house someday, you say that. If they say they're looking to invest in something, I help
Sure.
people like you invest in stuff. But it's really like you're just listening, you're just meeting them. And then is there a call to action at that networking group? Like, so when you do an open house, you've got a goal to get 10 names and one of them to turn into a
Yeah.
coffee, a bourbon, a drink, right?
Yeah.
When you go to a networking group, do you do it the same way? Do you have a goal of how many people you're going to
No.
meet and how you're going to get a phone number, or
No.
how does that happen?
No, no, because I think it's virtually impossible to do that. Simply because if somebody's coming into an open house, they're casually or in the weeds on real estate. I don't know what's happening at the network in the group. So what I'll do is I'll make sure that I work the room somewhat. I'm not just going to casually jump around and talk to everybody. Very rarely tell them what I do. Very rarely do I hand out a business card unless it becomes appropriate. Like, you see people work in the room going, hey, my name is Tom. I'm a real estate agent. Here's my card. Then it's like, whoa, now you're selling, dude. I met you 2 minutes ago. Got to stop setting me back from the mic.
Yeah.
You're selling immediately. So I don't do that. So I could bring in a bunch of business cards. If I'm lucky, I hand out one, maybe two. But that's because what do you do, Tom? Hey, I work in real estate. Awesome. And then it becomes what it becomes. Last night, I handed out a business card because I let the gentleman talk. He had time of possession. He spoke. And then it just ended up, he said, can I get your card, Tom? Because I'm really thinking about this. And then he called over his girlfriend and he said, hey, I want you to meet Tom. And we have a meeting for January 2nd, possibly moving in April. But to your point, Aaron, I don't go in there with a mindset. If I take some business away, great. If I don't, that's okay. Maybe the next one will happen.
So for 2025,
Mhm.
how many open houses are you going to do?
I would say I'll probably work about 45 weekends next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your goal essentially is, your goal is like 4 a month, right? So
Mhm.
and again, it's like dissecting this whole business plan to say, like, what can somebody do because we've got agents that have been agents for 5 and 10 years that aren't necessarily doing volume you're doing right now because the
Mhm.
market has changed so much. We've
Sure.
got to reinvent ourselves. So you're going to start each month and you're going to say, all right, this month I'm going to do 4 weekends
Yeah.
of open houses. Is that 2 open houses a weekend or one?
Yeah, sometimes it's most I'll do is Saturday and Sunday. I'm trying to buy back my time. I'm reading actually a book on that called "Buy Back Your
I
Time"
love
by
that
I
book.
think it's Dan Martell. I think is the author. I just
Yeah,
started
Dan
it
Martell's
actually.
the author.
Yeah, and I'm trying to take Sunday off. I'm happy to work 6 days, and I don't really see like an open house is 2 hours and maybe 2 hours prep and getting their sign. So it's probably 4 hours on a Saturday. It's not a full day's work, but I am trying to take a Sunday off if I can. But then you get an opportunity to do a $1.5 million open house, and I have to do it. Like this business there, I have to do it. So I'm not good at buying back my time. That's my point. Hence the reading of the book. But I know that I'm like my second year, starting my third year in January 1. I've got to chase the business for the first 3 to 5 years. I've just got to do it. And I know the business is going to come back to me. I know it is. And then I can start having my listings and having people do my open houses, bringing me the buyer. But for now, I've got to do this today. I've got to do this. I've got, a pretty lofty goal for 2025. Now I know I can do it because my stats for 2024 are in that I'm not going to close anymore this year. So I said, damn, if I can do that now and I can start getting, maybe a little bit of coaching and maybe getting more efficient with my time, I can do so much more than that. And I'm plugged into Compass, which is an awesome firm, growing at a rate of knots, just acquired Christie's, all that good stuff. And I have the top agent in the Carolinas as my team leader. So I'm
So you
built
do
for success. I'm
so you
ready
do
for it.
2 open houses a weekend when you do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Sometimes I've done 3, but that's too much. I've done 2 in one day and then maybe 2 on a Saturday, 1 on a Sunday. It's too much.
All right.
Yeah.
So you're going to come into January and saying, "Hey, I'm trying to do 2 open houses a weekend." And then how many networking groups are you going to attend every month? Is it 3?
That fluctuates, probably 1 per month, but then you might get, because one is not every month, one is every second month. So you could have in January could be 1, February could be 2, and then it could be 3 in March. But there's always 1 per month minimum.
So you'll do like 15 a year. You'll do like 15
Oh,
networking events
probably
next
more.
year.
Probably
You'll
more.
do, 2 open houses a weekend for almost every weekend. And then just by the nature of like the holidays or something else, you'll miss a few. And then how many deals will you do next year with that?
25-ish.
You do 25 deals. And what's your average price point?
Right now it's $927.
That's great. That's a great market, great business plan. And I think that mindset is one where, yes, I love what you said about the first few years. We got to chase the business.
Have to.
You got to chase the business and build the business, because eventually it's drip campaigns, it's referrals, it's ways to do it. But like going in and doing the hard work. But you've also set up this, I don't know, this workflow that I think you will be able to buy back your time. I think you'll be able to look at some of that and go, okay, this is what I do on the weekends to generate. This is what I do during the week to keep it going. This is what I do my once a month for the networking events, because that's a very duplicatable system for somebody that's willing to go work hard, get themselves out there and put in the reps.
You know what it is, but you gotta figure out what the why is. Like, why are you doing this? Is it for money so you can buy a flash car? Is it money so you can go on holidays? Is it money for your retirement? Is it money to pay off your kids' college? You have to put that why right there, and that keeps you driving all the time. And here's it's life is very simple. We
What's your
complicate
why?
things. Oh, my why is early retirement in my family. That's what it is. I'm not interested in materialism. Couldn't give a crap about it. Just don't care, right? I want a nice lifestyle, which is my standard, and I'm never apologize for that. If somebody else wants to make $30,000 commission check every month and buy whatever, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not my why. Mine is just early retirement and have my kids to be college and debt free, and they don't have to carry this debt into their adult life. That's my why. And to give back. And it's very simple. I know we're kind of jumping around a bit, but if you're persistent and you surround yourself with good people and you own your morning and maybe do some coaching and have your systems in place. And then I'm a spiritual guy and I believe in the good Lord above is kind of guiding me in my path and whatnot. Like, it's absolutely inevitable that I'm going to be successful in 2012. And I've no doubt about it. And not because I'm a cocky SOB. That's because I'm not that person. I just believe in the people I'm with. I believe in me. And when I make mistakes, I make mistakes. I give myself an hour to kick the trash can and cry in the corner. And then it's next. That just keep going, keep going, keep going. I lost a deal this week at $1.24 million deal. Seller just kind of literally just said, I'm not going ahead with this, Tom. Like, after photography was done, after all the paperwork was done, after all the time I spent, walked away. Doesn't matter why. I lost the business. Hurt me, sting for an hour or two, and I said, okay, let's go. We're done here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important to take some time to be upset about it, but just, you have that time and then you're done and you move on, because This business is full of high and lows. And I think that, especially with social media and Instagram, it looks like everything's all good, hunky dory all the time. And in fact, like it's really tough. And, you're out there hustling and sometimes you get home late and it is a tough gig, but that makes the deals that are amazing so much better because you have to go through those tough times. So you really appreciate those big wins where you get it done. And isn't it funny how you're most rewarded not by like this $1 million deal? It's like this first time home buyer who's wanted this their whole life and now they finally achieved it and you were part of that. And it's like you're just so happy for them. And that is the fulfilling part of this job. And that's what gets me through personally on these like tough deals with egos as big as a bus, like just working through that. Ego's not your amigo.
Yeah, I like that. I'm stealing that one. But I think you're so right there because it's about giving as much as possible, like overcompensating, give more value than you're going to receive, and just be the best agent, the best person for that client. And then your referrals are going to come in. They're going to come in naturally. And I think what it is that for me is I don't focus on the outcome. It's hard not to completely, but I just don't focus on the outcome. I focus on the process that I've got. I got a very predictable process that works, that I'm delivering. I mean, I'm going to do my year is done, but I'm going to close 18 this year. Average price point is 927. I'm going to do $17 million on year two. So my point is, and again, that's not so. Yeah, thank you. I mean, it is pretty good. I know it is, but my point is, if I've done it, and I'm just telling you what I've done, that means the next person can do. But if you're not persistent, and you do like the January, let's join the gym in February 1st, you kind of slack back and don't do it, and you don't do your open house, or you start watching the game on a Sunday instead of, because the sacrifice involved. I'm working stupid hours right now, but my intention is not to keep doing that and then start pulling back maybe in year 3 or year 4.
Yeah, well, I also think that you seem to have that kind of heart that people trust because you can tell you're a genuinely good person, and that's who people want to work with. And that's going to be the one who recommends you to their friend. And that's the one who's like, you can't work with anybody else but them because they'll take care of you and they genuinely have your best interests at heart. So kudos
Yeah,
on that.
and you know what? If you mess up, you fess up. I mean, we make mistakes. We're human beings. I got stung on something this week. Details are not important, and I just had to put it right. And that means you had to throw some money at it to put it right. And I did it because didn't like sending Venmo a couple of $100s to somebody, but it was the decent thing to do. And the customer came back and said, "So appreciative of that, Tom. Thank you so much." And that's all they said. So when they're having a beer or a coffee with someone in a month or two, and somebody brings up real estate, who are they going to talk about? Probably me. So that's how I look at it.
So you first heard about doing real estate like 2 years ago. Now you've done 21 deals. Next year you'll do 25. What's something that you have learned this year that you wish you would have known 2 years ago when you first heard about it?
I've never had to. My previous job was like public relations, communications, media. I never had to deal with the public before, like for like face to face, full on. And that's the most challenging part of any public facing job, whether it's me or the guy working in home goods. Ask him how his day went on a busy Saturday. He's going to say, "Oh man, this guy came in at, you would, whatever." So I think dealing face to face with the public and not getting, when they're mad, don't get mad with them. When they're happy, get happy with them. So keep it positive and read the room quicker than I used to, because I never had to before, because I was never in that world. And I think dealing with the general public and just kind of stepping back a little bit and not getting wrapped up in any kind of drama, even for a millisecond, because the minute you get wrapped up in that, you've lost. It's done. So that's probably the big thing for me, is just don't get wrapped up in the drama of other people. Just let them do what they need to do, listen, and then kind of take it offline or change the subject, for sure.
Can I answer that too, Aaron?
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much therapy I was going to be giving. Just so
Amen.
much therapy.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's
I
funny.
think too to that, like I deal with a lot of divorces and, just being that positive light in a really, really bad
Sure.
time and just, taking lead, keeping the wheels on the bus, encouraging them, you got this, it's going to sell, there's going to be a buyer.
Yeah.
All of those things, I think that I just never realized how much anxiety we were going to deal with and manage through people. So just keeping it high level and not stooping to that level as your point.
Yeah.
Not getting upset, knowing that, they're having a bad day. If you're mad, step away and don't talk to them. Sometimes my clients, I won't talk to after 5 o'clock if they're
Yeah.
acting crazy, and we'll talk tomorrow and we'll get you through it.
Yeah. Yeah. And everybody has that client where when you see the phone going at 2 o'clock in the day or 6 o'clock at night, you go, "Oh, oh my God, here we go. But you got to put your game face on because they need something. And I kind of say, well, what's your struggle here? Let me take that off the table for you. Now what's wrong? And they feel better. Let's fix it. As best I can. I can't fix everything, but I'll fix a lot of it.
We'll get no pressure, but 20,000 people will listen to this in like the first day or two
Yeah.
when it goes live. And over time, be a lot more. Somebody out there is listening and they're considering quitting their W-2 and becoming a real estate agent. Somebody out there there's also somebody else that's just like trying to figure out how to keep going, whether they should quit real estate or
Sure.
not right now. What is your big message for them?
Seek good counsel from good people. Don't make the decision on your own. Talk to your wife, your partner, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever it is, family member, somebody you trust, and kind of say, hey, listen, I was watching this Irish guy on a podcast. I'm thinking I could do that. Like, seek good counsel from people. Read as many books as you can. Jump on these kind of podcasts. But if you decide to do it, you can make a great living in real estate, like really, really good living in real estate, but you are going to work your butt off for the first minimum 3 years, like 60, 70-hour weeks. That's just the way it is. But if you can keep on pushing through that and get to your 3 or 4 year mark, then you're going to have an awesome time because this is a fun job. As stressful as it is, to your point, as stressful as it is, it's a fun job and every day is totally different. I worked in the corporate world where every day was pretty much the same as the day before and it was fine and I liked it. And when you do it, you just get on with it. But when you step away from it, so seek good counsel is the first thing. And you got to just figure it out. Don't make any rash decisions. But if you decide to do it, you got to go for it because you can't casually do real estate. You can't casually do anything, really. You cannot casually do real estate. Agents get into this business because they say two things. Well, I just want to do it part-time. I said that. And I'm only, it doesn't work. It's virtually impossible. And they say, I want to work my own hours. Well, that's not going to work either, at least at the start, not for me, because I know I got to hustle, and keep on going. But I've pushed through in year two because I think the work that I did this year, I'm just ready for 2025. I'm working on stuff today and I'm, working on what I'm, going to do some coaching because I need the skill set that I don't have regarding discipline and stuff like that and accountability. So that's one of my, I wouldn't say weaknesses, but pain points for me that I need to work on. So it's figuring out what's good for me. But to your point, Aaron, good counsel is number one, and then kind of start doing a deeper dive after that.
Sarah, do you have a last question for Tom?
I want to double down on that. When I got first started, I was a single agent and I was thirsty for information. I wanted to know, and again, podcasts and books and what you're listening to, what you're reading. You guys, I'm going to get to know you guys hosting this show.
Sure.
But this podcast has been a big part of my success and Aaron and our friendship and the mastermind and everything that we do. So I would urge everybody to listen to podcasts, go mastermind, put yourself out there. We're better with community when you have a network of people. We have this real estate rockstars group, and if I had somebody in Charlotte, you're the first person I'm thinking of. Yeah. So I think but you don't know that until you do things like this. So, just to wrap up that, you just had lots of great points. I love the time of possession. I love let them be. I like letting people self-discover and not just jumping in, but having some silence and being comfortable with that silence so they can articulate, their needs and what they want to talk about and what they're looking for in a home. So all great points. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's really well said, and you just kind of echoed what, and if anybody, and I guess here's my pitch, and a good referral for me is, but anybody who's moving to the Charlotte area, and there's 247 people per day ish moving here, we've got a huge group. Compass is one of the biggest brokerage in Charlotte right now by sales volume. So anybody who's moving here, you can connect with me, and Aaron, I can give out phone numbers and
this is it, man. You can give your phone number, your email. This is your point to tell people how to send you those referrals, how to reach out to you, ask you advice on open houses. How do they find you, Tom?
Happy to do that. So my number is 980-328-6620. 980-328-6620. My email is tom.brennan@compass.com. My website is tombrennanrealtor.com. Spend some money on luxury presents. Actually, I have an awesome website, if I do say so myself, but I got some great help. It is. There's such a team over there. They're
I
wonderful.
like the concierge stuff on your website a lot too. It's
Yes,
nice.
but even if you look at my website, tombrennanrealtor.com, the opening kind of monologue it's a video of me walking through a home. She said, "Oh, he's with customers." It's the first thing you see, and that was very deliberate. And I got some lessons from other people. But if you're thinking of moving to the Charlotte area, or hey, if you're in town some weekend, you want to grab a beer, I'm that guy. I just like having a beer and just hanging out and tell me your story and see where we go from there. Because whether you're casually looking or you're in the weeds, I'm going to give you the 5-star treatment. And I never have an agenda. I don't focus on. Sorry, that's wrong. I do have an agenda. I'm trying to win your business, but I'll never forcibly go after that and shove a business card in your face within the first 5 minutes. You probably won't get a business card at all, actually. But it's a great business to be in. Charlotte is a great city to operate in. Compass are just look, they're rock stars because they're growing so quickly. And if you want to connect with me on those details, 980-328-6620, I'm just happy to have the conversation. Listen, I'm Irish. We talk for a living. We can't help it.
Yeah, and it's fun to listen to an Irish guy. Well, real estate rock stars, you guys heard it today. So we had Tom Brennan from Compass. He lives out in Charlotte, but his license in both North and South Carolina. Mm-hmm. He taught us today about open houses, about networking, about getting to represent your wife's friend or however else you're going to get those first deals, and a lot of fun stuff about attitude. Tom, really, really impressed with what you've done in your first couple years. I absolutely believe you're going to hit your goals next year. I also believe if the listeners follow part of that, blueprint we gave today, they could have a big year next year, regardless of what their year was like this last one. Today, I have my co-host, Sarah Denig, who Sarah, I first met at a Real Estate Rockstars conference hosted in Austin in 2021. And we became fast friends after that. Talked her into doing an Ironman with me. What was that? Wow. 5 or 6 months later. And now she's been a key part of that as she takes over as one of our hosts. So Real Estate Rockstars, if you want to find us some more, Tom told you how to find him. You can find me on Instagram at Aaron Amuchastegui. Sarah, what's your Instagram?
At Sarah, S-A-R-A, Denig, D as in David, E-N-I-G.
And then we still have some tickets left. So for our local Real Estate Rockstars Mastermind in Austin, March 5th to 7th, it's 4th to 6th or 5th to 7th. Our website for that is realestaterockstarsmastermind.com. We'll get over 100 agents all over the U.S. coming to Austin. It is like the podcast, but in real life, and getting those people together. And our people there have been great. So listeners, go check that out. Sarah, thanks for helping me host today. Tom, thanks so much for being here.
Hey guys, just a special thank you. I guess I'm a real estate rock star that have been on your podcast. So I'm not just saying this and blowing smoke. I'm just honored to be on here because I follow the show. Listen, I pick up so much information. And my Instagram is Lux Living by Tom, Lux Living by Tom, just FYI on that. But thanks for having me, guys. This was so much fun. I feel like I'm just hanging out at the bar having a beer. So that's what I do.
Yeah, that's what we like to do. Well, Tom, it's our honor as well. So thanks to you guys and Real Estate Rockstars. Thanks for listening.